Yeah, I think one was there was a idolizing of unfettered markets. And much, if not most, of the intelligentsia were duped. I recall traveling with my dear brother Michael Harrington or talking with Brother Stanley Aronowitz years ago. And here we're engaged in critiques of unfettered markets, and it looked as if we were medieval thinkers. Everybody was saying we're followers of Milton Friedman. Everybody was saying Frederick Hayek got it right. Everybody was saying marketize, commercialize, commodify. And we were still reading Lukács. And Lukács was saying commodification is not simply an asymmetric relation of power of bosses vis-a-vis workers. So workers are being more and more marginalized. Profits are being produced, wealth is being produced, hemorrhaged at the top, no fair distribution of that wealth or profit for workers. Poor are being demonized because they are viewed as those persons who are irresponsible, who will not work, who are always looking for welfare, i.e. failures in the society of success. And we reached the brink and the chickens came home to roost. And a few
Welcome and welcome back to the channel. This is presenter Tech Stories, and I hope that you're fine wherever you are today. Now, today there is an important topic by Mr. Cornel West. If you're hearing him for the first time, Cornel West is an African American professor. He has taught much about black people and what black people go through, a lot of economic disparities that black people go through in the United States. And in this discussion, he talks about how the intellectuals betray the poor people, all of the lives of people that people have lived. They are always being played. Look at the life of working class people generally. How the corporate is taking advantage of that, because since you're in the working class, you'll continue working. You'll keep on working all of your entire life, making them rich, 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 and super rich. And hear me today. That is how this is so intertwined within the political system in the United States. It's not just about the social class system. It's not about the social stratification, but it's about how this factor is intertwined in the political life of people in the United States. And Cornel West, as an African American or Black American scholar who understands the struggles that Black people have gone through in the United States, he's here to tell you a given reason as to why, including Black people, will be working and working, making this group of people rich. The group of these white people that don't care about Black people. A lot of businesses are being run by them. Only few Black businesses we have ever found or have, right? And this makes you ask a question: where are we taking our resources as Black people? Leave alone even the United States. Let's say Africa, where I am, a lot of businesses, banks, supermarkets are being run by people who don't look like me or you. And it's not a matter of being a racist or a matter of being a colorist. It's a matter of asking ourselves the ambitions, like the economic ambitions that we have as Black people. Like, we need to learn when we need to wake up and just do what we have to do. And Mr. Cornel West is doing that by waking us up, making us trying to understand how the intellectuals are betrayed working class people, right? Understanding the history of the United States, its development, it began with Black people. Black people worked for free through blood and sweat to make it work for the United States. So if we're talking about the working class people, we cannot forget the plight of Black people in making the United States great, in making the United States work. Kindly buckle up for this video by Dr. Cornel West. He's going to explain a number of things that I believe it's important for us to hear, understand, and I hope you find this video educative. If you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to join our membership. Check out my Cash App account. If you want to buy me a coffee, I'll most definitely appreciate. And don't forget to like so that this video can reach people who are like-minded like you. You know what? Let's get into it. I'll be back.
years ago, the unfettered markets led us off and over the brink. And all of a sudden, very few intellectuals want to be honest and acknowledge the degree to which they were duped. Don't want to talk about the inequality that went along with it. Don't want to talk about the demonization of the poor that went along with it. Don't want to talk about the politics of fear that produced a Republican Party that was more and more lily white, using not just race, but also demonizing gay brothers and lesbian sisters. You see. Don't want to talk about the indifference toward the poor and greed being good and desirable and so forth. Now is a very different moment. And it's not, just a matter of pointing fingers, but saying somebody's got to take responsibility for this. This was a nearly 40-year run. Who paid the cost? As usually the case, poor working people paid the cost, disproportionately black and brown and red, you see. So in the age of Obama, we say, okay, can we have a different kind of discussion? And that's what we're trying to do. But of course, you got two wars going on. You got still Wall Street in the driver's seat in the Obama administration when it comes to the economic team. You see. And you've got very, I think in some ways unimaginative thinking when it comes to foreign policy. Be it the Middle East, or be it European Union, or be it Latin America, calling Chavez a dictator. The man's been elected. If he's calling into question rights and liberties, criticize him as a Democratic president. We did the same thing for Bush. Bush was calling into question rights and liberties. We didn't call him a dictator. We said he's a Democratic elected president who's doing the wrong thing. Chavez ought to be criticized. He's not a dictator. The man's been elected. But it's that kind of demonizing that obscures and obfuscates the kinds of issues that are necessary, because Chavez is also talking about poor people. Of course, I want libertarian and democratic sides. I want rights and liberties and empowerment of poor people. But talking about poor people is not a joke. It's crucial. It's part and parcel of the future of any serious democratic project. The fundamental question of any democracy is, what is the relation between public interest and the most vulnerable? That's the question. That is the question. The test of your rule of law is going to be, how are the most vulnerable being treated? It's not whether the torturers are getting off. We know the torturers don't have a rule of law applied to them. The wiretappers, they're getting off scot-free. What about Jamal with the crack bag, taken to jail for 7 years? Oh, so you got a different rule of law when it comes to Jamal on the corner versus your torturers and your wiretappers? Torturing is a crime against humanity. It's not just illegal. Wiretapping is illegal. You see, now it's not a crime against humanity, because sure, I've had my phone tapped for years. I don't think they committed a crime against humanity. Just ought to quit doing it, goddamn. I think to keep in mind, the demos is always heterogeneous, diverse. Got a lot of xenophobic elements among the demos, a lot of ignorance, a lot of parochialism. You also have a lot of cosmopolitanism, a lot of globalism, a lot of courage, moral courage. So the demos is not one thing, but when it comes to the ability of the demos to organize, mobilize, and bring power and pressure to bear, we certainly are in a crisis. Our system is broken. We got 71% of people who want universal health care, and you can barely get through a reform bill with a weak public option. It's clear lobbyists from the top, pharmaceutical companies, drug companies have tremendous influence, much more than the demos from below, you see. So those preferences don't get translated easily, because our politicians are beholden to that big money and that big influence. But the demos is still around. Thank God. You got your own institution, right? Dialogue is the lifeblood of a democracy. We got to allow ideas to flow. You have to expose people to different visions, alternative arguments, and so on, to try to keep the torch of the progressive demos alive. But it's very difficult to organize it. Complacency is deep. Apathy is deep. People are wondering, how can you confront, big finance, big government tied to big finance, when all you got is these little people who are willing to talk and so forth, but have tremendous power, bringing serious pressure to bear. We can march. We marched against the war by the millions. We were ignored by the Bush administration. Some of us went to jail. We were ignored. We couldn't translate the foreign policy. That happened sometimes. It was different in Vietnam.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you've understood what Dr. Cornel West was trying to say. And I think looking at the plight of black people, because these are the fast working people who built everything that you are seeing today in the United States. And I think that this message, especially, it's important to my community, that I share with you this so that we get to see the true picture of how these people have always been benefiting from everything that is happening from black people, starting from the tension that is always between black men and black women. They are benefiting from that. You might think that they're not benefiting. They are always benefiting from that. Look at any chaotic thing which is happening, but one thing that I'm glad is that people are waking up and people are claiming their freedom back. People are taking their power back. What do I mean? Because just 2 days I found that majority of people that were boycotting Walmart, they are black people, right? And these are people with highest purchasing power. Black people buy things, including things that they don't want, spending the money that they don't have in the things that they don't have, right? And I'm glad that the chickens have come to roost. Now people are getting to know the truth. People are getting to know the reality. People are talking about it. And I'm glad that everyone who is watching Dr. Cornel West talk about this. It really shows that important part of economic life that we also need to understand. We also need to see. We need to also see how these political parties have played a great role in making you working class person, because they're always exchanging power. But at the end of the day, you as a middle class person, you'll always left struggling with the prices of groceries. You asking yourself, why is it that my voice is not being heard, right? And when you're asking why your voice is not being heard, there is always somebody who is benefiting. Today, the oppressor is your enemy. Tomorrow, they're the oppressor. You are always in the middle. You vote, you wake up in the morning, you go to work. They don't give a damn about you. And that's what happens. And now, that's how sad it happens. Well, I'm glad that we are getting to have this information. People talk about this. It's really, really important. One thing that I like about this video, that it shows the plight of working class people. How we ourselves, we've led to our detriment. Because without us, they don't have power. That's when you need to realize this. Without you as a working class person, those people have no power. It is upon you to understand the power that you have for yourself and keep it to yourself. Just like what people did. Do you know that if they don't buy from Walmart, just give it 1 month, 1 month only, you'll see how they'll be ready to bend their ways for you and to bring policies that favor you. And this is a classical example of what Dr. Cornel West is trying to say. And amongst other things that he has always been talking about the plight of black people and understanding the struggles that black people go through. Right now, it might seem that it is globalization. It's something that is happening to everyone in the United States, whether black or white. But it began with black people, and nobody was talking about it, right? But right now, it's happening in the entire United States, and like right now, the reality is hitting true. Well, I'm trying to be optimistic with everything which is happening. I'm also trying to understand where the problem started, where the problem came from. So my main takeaway from this video is that you, as a working class person, just know that you own the power. And there is always an alienation. If you study Marx's work about people's labor being alienated from them, what you get a fraction of what you work for, but the profits are being taken by them. That's how it has always been, and that's how it's always been played. And you need to understand that concept. It might seem like today it's happening to the entire United States, but this is something that started with black people, where black men worked for wages that were so ridiculous, just to keep the family. Whereas the government itself never wanted black people to have the family, to keep the family, to have these structures, like just see a complete family. They could create a tension that would make the family work. right? So while I'm trying to look at what's happening today, I'm looking at an angle that it started with a person that looks like you and I. This video is for my community, is for black people. I might be saying that Dr. Cornel West was not saying about black and white, but trust me, in the video you also said, he talks about some aspect of white supremacy, right? But right now it might seem that it is for everybody, whether black or white, but it's more deeper. The fact that you get to understand that it started with you, the person who looks like me, you worked for free, you are forced to work. It was a forceful working. Even alone today, people are forced to work, but indirectly to go to job. Still, you can't afford to pay your rent because the profits are being taken by other people. Now imagine black people, not even payment, not even profit, not even nothing. Everything was being taken away from them. Like literally, they were being owned. Like you yourself, you're taken as a product, like not a human being. So you can understand how devastating life was for black people during those days. That's why I'm saying it began, and again I'll say it began with black people. These are presented Jindoc stories. I would most definitely want you to tell me how you feel about this video. Until then, you know how we do it. Again, I'll ask you, if you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to join our membership. Check out our Cash App account if you wish to buy me a coffee. I'll most definitely appreciate. These are presented Jindoc stories. And until then, let's meet on my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.